Hello, boys and bros, and welcome to episode 20 of the Nothing to Play podcast. A meteor podcast about video games, movies, and weeb shit. And this is my guest for the week. You love him. We started half an hour late because he was in the twilight zone of echoing on the Skype call. Shannon Moore.
So we're just doing anime this week, huh? Hello! I'm so glad to have a stable internet connection to talk to you right now. You take the small things for granted in quarantine. So I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I got my drink. Dude, I was watching before the podcast started. I was watching the Games Done Quick stuff is going on right now, and my cat was asleep on my lap in the chair in the living room, and Megan was like, "Dude, she's like, it's like 12:56. Don't you need to go do your podcast?" I was like, "Oh shit, yeah!" And I got up. And I didn't realize how dead-ass asleep Oswald was. And when I stood up, it scared the shit out of him. And I have this nice gash on my ribs over here. It's like some Mel Gibson, Passion of the Christ looking shit on my chest.
Damn, deep pull right there. You're probably one of the top 10 people who watch that movie, huh?
Yeah, we rented it from Hollywood Video back in the day when I was I think I was 10 or something when that came out. I don't remember what year that came out.
Nice. Was that an Easter watch for you guys? You had to watch it on Easter or something like that to get your because you didn't go to church, so that made up for it.
No, that was just a Wednesday rental from Hollywood Video on the new is that where you go and you're like, oh, I want to see this, and it's just the box, and then it does that for 2 more movies, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just take this one then. I'm not leaving empty-handed from Hollywood Video.
Oh, it was a last call, huh? You're I see it
so.
Down at the end of the bar. It's been eyeballing me all night. It's pick me, and you're like, okay, fine, let's do this. Yeah, I watched my mom on Easter. She was kind of feeling a little out of it because it was all under quarantine. So we watched Jesus Christ Superstar on TV with the John Legend musical remake and stuff like that. That stuff is intense, dude. That musical goes places. It's weird. I didn't like it.
You're like, no.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna go upstairs and do some Animal Crossing and see what turnip prices are in my world right now because I got hosed that first. I did not have a good first turnout as you did. Where you went from 0 to hero. I was like,
yeah. Neither did Zach. Of course, he fucking waited until the very last day to sit there and try and sell turnips. I'm like, bro, you should have been doing this shit on Thursday. I don't know. Your ass is waiting until Saturday trying to ask everyone's turnip prices after everyone's markets have crashed.
Yeah, dude. I was happy to find a 50 bell per turnip jump, and I was like, yeah, I'm all over that. I'll take the substantial the little incremental increase, just as long as I'm not losing anything. I can try next week and see what happens.
Yeah, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean the turnip prices were probably the best this week for me. At 90 bells. I don't even know. I got to go with what I got. I'm not going to anybody else's island. That lady comes to my island. She tells me what I can do, and I'm like, okay, this is the best situation. I'm gonna do it.
You're like, listen. You're like, listen here, you little wanker. You're like, I'm gonna give you 90 bells, and you're gonna give me as many turnips as I can afford.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm kind of at her beck and call, at her mercy, and then I just try to make the best of it. But yeah.
Women, am I right?
Oh my god, yeah. She hoses me just like real life. The women, they do that. I'm gonna stop there because that's gonna get me in trouble. Oh man. Oh, so what else is new? What's going on this week? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I also felt bad because I totally told Zach on the last episode of That Pixel Life that I was going to play another game besides Animal Crossing, and that ended up not happening. So, next week for sure. I was going to play, because I was going to play that update for Ring Fit came out, where it has that DDR-ish mode and stuff to it, so I was going to check that out, but I didn't have time to do that, but this weekend, obviously from working late and whatever, and then since we're immediately going from this podcast into the That Pixel Life podcast, so if you're listening to this, at some point on Spotify will be the last week's episode that Shannon fucking hasn't done anything with because he's been a little night owl, making sure all your elevator needs are taken care of in the night.
Yep. I'm trying to think of like the equivalent to Elf on a Shelf for elevator mechanics that work in the middle of the night that like fix your shit when it breaks, but I haven't come up with anything as catchy yet.
You're like, bro on a belt.
Oh yeah, mechanic on a something. I don't know. I can't think of anything yet. But well, burps. Got the herpes. Yep. Water's giving me the herpes. That's never a good sign. Dude, what's that? What's that are you drinking right now?
Oh, now, well, I finished I finished my Italian soda, and now it's called Aha. It's sparkling water. It is apple ginger flavor.
Wow. That's crazy. You guys got some crazy ass shit out there in Arizona.
It's pretty good.
You're bougie too. Like you don't just drink like a straight like water. Like it's got to have like some type of flavoring. Like you got your
grapefruit,
and then like your what is that apple flavor or whatever.
Apple ginger sparkling water. Well, it's because I don't really drink a lot of soda. Like, I mean, I drink soda every now and again, especially like sometimes I'll crave just like a nice like cherry Coke. And stuff like that, or like a root beer, cream soda, or like cranberry ginger ale is like one of my other go-tos. But for the most part, I usually just drink tea or like flavor like water, or like I have like the little Mio stuff that you sort of like black cherry. I'll do black cherry like Mio and stuff a lot. Like during work and stuff, I'll drink like 3 or 4 bottles of water of a cherry Mio.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, like I try to stay hydrated. I try to drink like 90 ounces of water like a day when I'm at work. Like, you know, I got a little refillable flask that's like 32 ounces, and I try to fill that up like 3 times when I'm working. That way I know I'm hydrated. But man, like, I don't know what it is about like this year in particular, but like hitting 40, like you start to notice more things about your body, or your body at that point is just like, fuck it. Like now you're going to start experiencing like some shit. Like, and I'm going to make sure that you're aware of it. Like, the aches and pains were there in like your 30s, but now like in my 40s, like maybe it's because like I typically will start out my work shift with like a 16-ounce Red Bull. And now like my big toe, like it kind of feels like it has arthritis or whatever in it. And I've been looking up things on like WebMD and stuff, and they're like,
that's a dangerous road.
I know. Like aside from having toe cancer, like one of the other things it is like I could have like gout. Like, you know, like I'm starting to develop like gout in my foot. Because that's typically where it starts. So I'm like, great, here we go. Like, I got the gout in my foot. I got, like, the back pains. I'm, like, tired all the time. Like, what the hell is going on?
Constantly pissing blood.
Yeah, like, my poops are, like, random colors because the things I eat are, like, you know, messing up my stomach now. Like, you know, my stomach is not as strong as it used to be, apparently.
Like,
so...
pushed part of my small intestine out my asshole.
Yeah, apparently it came out flying out of my asshole and landed on your shirt. Like, I mean, all I see is the top part of an
Yeah, I'm ripping my Inside Out Games shirt.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, what's that? That was one of the other funny things. If you gotta listen to. That was one of the things with my and Zach's podcast, is I told him I derailed us so fucking hard on like 90. I'd say about 91% of last week's That Pixel Life podcast was not about video games, was not about movies or anything. We were talking about like how tall like our dads are, and about, I don't even remember what the fuck else. Like, we went off on some coffee. We were talking about coffee for a minute. Like, yeah, we went some places.
That's good. You know, variety is the spice of life. You know, sometimes you just can't talk about video games all the time.
Yeah, and I told Zach at the end, I was like, yeah, man, I I was like, for a second, you would have thought you were on my podcast or something with how fucking derailed and unorganized everything was during the podcast.
I don't know. You've been a host on our show for a while. You know, we go on those tangents. We go down those rabbit holes pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it was probably like 20, 25 minutes before Zach like had to like pull it back in, and it was like, I don't know why we went so hard down this trail, but anyway.
Damn, dude, that's awesome. That's some deep cuts.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, but no, where I was going with it though was it was funny because at the end of the podcast too, because normally every time when you do the outro thing, you always like ask me about negative space, and I'm like, oh, I haven't worked on it, and Zach was like, okay, yeah, well, we can skip the thing, and I was like, I actually have been working on it, and he was like, what? He's like, yeah, figures the one time Shannon's not fucking on it, but I actually did some game design like that week. Of course, Sweet. I've been working crazy overtime this week, so I haven't got to do anything, but...
I see how it is. So, like, this week when I ask you if you've been doing anything, you'd be like, nah, fuck off.
Yeah, I was like, I already talked about it last week, Shannon. I'm like, I don't have anything else. Nice.
Oh, man. Dude, stop sucking on that thing.
I'm sorry. I know. Earlier, I, like, put some of the ice in my mouth and I was chewing it and I was looking at the waveforms and I was like, oh man, I was like, I should probably not be doing that right now.
You have some dope ass like Foley work in, like you're gonna put like yourself munching on ice in like your negative space game somewhere. It's gonna be like one of those like hidden secret levels or like a little bobble.
Yeah, I was like in Last of Us 2, like Naughty Dog's gonna use it for like Ellie walking through some crunchy leaves or something.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, get your name in the credits on there.
Yeah, they're like just-in-time Carter. They're like proper asshole, eating ice on the podcast, breaking all the rules.
Yep. Foley Master. That's your title.
Yeah, there we go. I was like, we're gonna loop back around to anime. That's okay. What brought you on. We brought you on to talk about some weeb shit, and weeb shit we shall talk.
Yeah. So it's gonna be deep. We're gonna go back in time, like way back.
So, like the very first anime I can remember watching was the original Sailor Moon.
That's good. That's a good one. So that was like your intro, like to like the anime.
I think so, because at the time it's one of those things where it's like I didn't even like. I think like no, it was just a cartoon to me. Like at the time, I didn't know it was like anime. Like it was like a Japanese cartoon. But like yeah, like the first couple animes, like as a child, like that I can remember like watching because I used to watch Sailor Moon in the morning before school. But it was like that, like Card Capture Sakura.
That's a new one. I never heard that one.
You've never heard of that? The girl, no. She has like the wand and she like seals monsters in these little cards.
Yeah, dude, that's new to me.
Oh man, yeah, it was called Card Captures, and then they like rebooted it, I think, into Card Capture Sakura like a couple years ago.
Nice, that's cool.
And then, of course, Pokemon was one of the other earlier ones. What was your like introduction into?
My introduction was Dragon Ball, and that was the school I went to. It was right across the street from like a Japanese like weekend school. So like a lot of those kids went to the public school that was right across the street, because it was easy for their parents to drop them off and like, you know, they could do both schools and then get picked up at the end of the day. So a lot of times after school, I would hang out with the kids from the Japanese school and they were always watching like Dragon Ball Z. And they were always coming back from Japan with like all these cool Dragon Ball Z like action figures and books and stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, I want to get in on that. So like I didn't even have like a dubbed version. Like I didn't know what these people were talking about. I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know any nuances about the plot. But like the fight scenes were cool. Like the Super Saiyans were cool. I was all about that. And then like I kind of started to explore things on my own. This was like before internet, so you know you just kind of had to go off of like what your friends had, or what was being brought over on like TV. So like Sailor Moon, like I was right there with you with that one, and then my friends were like, oh dude, Sailor Moon, like we can't watch Sailor Moon in our house. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because like, Sailor Jupiter and like, some of the two of the other sailors, like they were lesbians, and like there were like, and there was nudity when they would change, and like there was all this like sorts of like more adult like content for it in the Japanese versions. So they're like, we can't watch any of that. And I was like, oh, okay, well that's cool. And I was like, well, what's different then? And they're like, well, every time they change, they're like naked, and there's like all these underlying like adult themes. And I was like, oh wow, like that's like, so they're doing like a lot of changing like for the cartoon to be like in mainstream kid like time, like power hours. I thought that was pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, those were the first two that I really remember watching. And then it was like Digimon. Like Digimon was a good one that was in there for a while. I never really got into like Pokemon too hard, because it was like when Pokemon came out, I want to say I started like my sophomore year in high school, and I was already getting beat up enough as it was, like just being a nerd. Like I didn't need them to know like I was like watching Pokemon or things like that. So like, I didn't need to add fuel to that fire. So I kind of stayed away from that one. But like I was into like Bubblegum Crisis and Ninja Scroll and Akira, and like all those like main staples that like you can think of like when you're going through that like the heart of like late 90s anime. So I think that's where I started out, like, and it was cool, like like it was a good taste. And I had a lot of friends that would that had the same interests. Some of them, like when they hit those like once like puberty kicked in, like their taste started to get a little shady. But yeah, I mean, like it's always been something that's a good like refuge, as far as like coming back to something that's uh not as mainstream but enjoyable to watch. So that's pretty much where I've been like sticking to. Like those are my like go-to like hardcore ones. How about you? Like when you got into anime, like once like you kind of started diving into like your own series, like the ones that you find yourself gravitating to, which were the ones that you watched on a regular basis?
So that's what was funny though. Like when you were saying that, like about like Pokemon, like for you, I keep forgetting like the age difference between us because like I don't think of you as being like that much like older than me, but there is like a good like 10 years between us. And it's like you were saying, like Pokemon was like the thing when you were in high school, and it's like I was 6 when Pokemon came out. So it's like that was like the shit like on the play, like it was everywhere, like on the playground, like as soon as like Pokemon came out.
Did
And
you have
for
like all
me,
the
like
card packs?
like for like Dragon Ball Z and stuff, like I did get into Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and stuff, but that for me that wasn't until like 6th grade is when like Dragon Ball Z and then like Yu-Gi-Oh came out when I was in 6th grade in like 2001, so that became like the new like really big thing. And what else was really big like around then? Like I did watch Akira and stuff later. Like I did really like Akira. I knew of Ninja Scroll. I don't think I've actually ever I've seen clips of it because it was like really gory and stuff, but I don't think I ever actually watched like a full episode of it.
Yeah, there was like some sex in it too, and like I remember like I had to get my anime fix when I was in when I was in like a freshman sophomore like time frame. I had to get it through like third party, so like my friends would get it, and then I would record it on a VHS tape, and then I would have it in my collection. Like I have like, so pardon me, there was a Street Fighter anime series, and like they had movies, and like those were actually pretty good movies, like, and it was a pretty good series too, but I think they over sexualized like Chun-Li like a little too much in like those shows. Like I mean, she was always taking showers and she was always naked, and so there was one scene where she had just gotten out of a fight, and she was like with Vega, and she was showering, and I remember I didn't have 2 VCRs at my house, so like I couldn't record it, so I would have to take my anime to like my grandparents' house to have them like change it to record it for me. And my grandma, I remember she walked into like record, like to check to make sure the recordings were still going well, and she walked right in at that scene where like she was like naked in the shower, like boobies out and everything, and I was like, oh my god, like this is the most embarrassing thing like ever. And my grandma was like, oh, this is interesting, and I was like, that's a very nice way to put that, Grandma. Let's not talk about this ever.
How old were you when that happened?
I was probably like 13, like 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just like, yeah, it was like a little awkward like situation for the both of us, and like
That's
she was
funny.
just like, yeah, I don't know if I'm cool with like recording these for you anymore. My grandpa was like, forget it, like this is like a rite of passage, like I'm buying this dude Playboys from now on, like forget this cartoon animated bullshit, like you're gonna see the real stuff. I was like, oh, okay, Grandpa, cool, like thanks.
He's like, here's a cigar.
Yeah, he's like, you're a man now. He's like, you like boobs. Like, that's great. But yeah, it was like, yeah, that it's like to think about like how easily you can get anime now compared to how hard it was like before like the invention of the internet. Like that'll blow some of your listeners' minds. It's like to think like, hey, this dude like was watching anime before the internet was a thing. Like, what do
Well,
you even do?
well, and that's like too, like even for me, like even in high school, um, all the way through high school, even my senior year, so that was like 2008. We had AOL dial-up at my house, so it was like even though like you could like watch anime like online and like whatever in some places, like I mean there wasn't, I don't even think Crunchyroll even existed or anything
Mm-mm.
like that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know online like there were certain like kind of like anime.tv or like what those kinds of places and stuff did exist, but my internet was so shitty that it's like I couldn't like stream anything. Like it would take like half an hour just to download one song half the time, like when I was like pirating music. So like I would download a lot of manga because that was faster, and
Mm-hmm.
so I could download entire volumes and chapters and stuff in the time it would take to download an episode. So I used to read a lot of manga more than anime back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in high school we also had a anime club
Mm-hmm.
at my school and stuff, and people would bring like the DVDs and stuff, and that's like how I watched a lot of it too. Like I watched GTO. I don't know if there's a Great Teacher Onizuka.
Mm-mm. I never saw that one either.
Oh, that's a pretty good. He's like I'm gonna pull up a picture of him. You might maybe the art. It's like you can totally tell by the art style. You're like, oh yeah, this is like a like '90s like anime, and the whole premise is that he used to be like the leader of this like bike gang, and
Uh-huh.
basically quit and then decided to become a teacher.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Like I have seen this before. I have seen parts of this, but never watched like the whole thing.
Yeah, and he like chain smokes and constantly like hits on other teachers at the school and stuff like that. And
that
the principal
reminds me
hates
of
him.
that reminds me of like Initial D, like the Initial D like anime style too.
Yeah, see, because yeah, Initial D was like I never really got into like the car like sport different sport animes and stuff. Like I know like Initial D was really big.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hajime no Ippo was like
Mm-hmm.
the boxing one and stuff.
Yeah, and then there was like a volleyball one too that like people like were really into for like a hot minute, but like I was never really like I was like, what
I
the.
think it's still a big thing. The
Mm-hmm.
volleyball one, yeah. I see it all the time on Verve and stuff and like the popular and trending and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
about the
it's really weird like the different anime like things that they like the weird avenues that a lot of these anime like go down. Like it's kind of crazy.
Well, that's what's weird too, is because like for a while, like there's been a lot of with like Crunchyroll and like Verve and stuff like that. There's been like a lot more like access to different types of anime and stuff like that. Besides just like say like Funimation owns like so many and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for like a while there, like I was checking out a lot of different ones. It's like I'd go from like watching My Hero Academia to there was this other one that was also a volleyball one, but it wasn't like a show and jump. It's like kind of like a slice of life,
Mm-hmm.
sort of like two sister like volleyball, and I got like into that and stuff, and it was like pretty nice. And then there's one about uh like running, and it was called what was it? It was like Run with the Wind. I think is what it was called. And that one like surprised me because it's like it's about running and it's about like 12 dudes who all live in this kind of like community like rundown sort of house thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they like built this team to do this like giant race that happens in Japan, which is a real thing that happens where they shut down the streets and stuff and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them actually run except for like two of the dudes. So it's like the two of them training these people to get good enough times that they'll all actually qualify for this race and stuff. But the characters and stuff were like really good and it was like funny, and it was one of those ones where I was like watching it and I was like, man, I actually really enjoy this way more than I thought I was going to. Like when I initially started this, like I was like, oh, I'll just give it a shot, and I'm like, all right, I can get into this.
That's awesome. Like, I mean, that I typically am more like, I feel with my anime style, I have to be like, I have like ADD when it comes to it. Like, I need, like, I can understand having like a little bit of plot and story, but for the most part, like, I need some action to like break up the plot lines a little bit. So like the things that I gravitate to are funny, right? So like One Punch Man, like I love like One Punch Man. He was great. I do like My Hero Academia because like I feel that balances the plot and like the action like really well, and I do like the nuance that like this isn't going to be like a partnership that's going to last forever. Like something's got to give here. So like there's that like kind of foreboding that kind of gets you to like see how the story plays out. But Attack on Titan was like the first one that I was really like, holy crap, like this is raw. Like they took that anime to places where like I don't know if it was because of like Game of Thrones that like this one like took off so well, but like just having characters that like you grew attached to and then like bit the dust in like the most aggressive ways. Like nobody dies in an easy way in that show. you know
Well, and I know like for like a certain generation, like Attack on Titan, I think was like introductory anime to a
hmm
lot of people of like a certain like generation, like teen, like now, like when I think of like for us, it was like Dragon Ball Z and like stuff like that, and I think Attack on Titan was like the Dragon Ball Z for like this group of people because it was like Hot Topic had a ton of Attack on Titan merchandise, and like when it was hot, I mean it was everywhere. Like when
hmm
season one was like coming out, and it was like just all over the place. Like it was on the internet and like whatever, and then it like disappeared for a year and a half, and then finally came back.
hmm Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem is like, I think it was just trying to figure out like how to get everything dubbed and over here like fast.
Yeah.
That show's not one of those things where you can actually kind of just like slap voiceovers on it real quick and like just send it out.
Do,
Um,
are you up to date on it though?
no, like I think the the last season I watched, it must have been like right as they were kind of putting together um like what was happening, and I forget the dude, the guy with the black hair with the swords, who's like a badass, like the
Okay, the captain,
yeah, the captain.
Levi.
Yeah, like he was the one that was kind of starting to just like take over and kind of like start kicking ass. That's pretty much where I had to like that's pretty much where I stopped watching it.
Oh
Um
man.
but yeah, like I have to get back into that one. Like my time is so limited right now that I only get
Yeah.
to really watch so much anime. So like My Hero Academia is like the one thing that I'm really trying to like catch up on because I've seen the two movies and I kind of want to understand a little bit more cuz like I started watching like I got like I'm in season 3 right now. So like I need to I feel I need to catch up because I think there was some things that I missed from the series to the second movie that they released. So I'm
Hmm.
trying to figure out like where the fill in those gaps. But that's the thing is like these things like move so fast. You got to stay up on them or you get lost in the wind.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to pace myself, but like there's other shows that like I think that's the problem is like with the American audience is like you have to find a big enough audience for it, so like you're not going to get a lot of like the content that you want to watch. You just kind of get the there are times where I don't want to read, right? So I'm just going to have to wait for like the English dub to come out. So like there was like Hunter x Hunter, which I was really into for a long time. And then what was the other one? There was another one that I was really into, like the Seven Deadly Sins. Like I was watching that one too. But like it took too long for the English dubs to come over. And now that I'm not living in my own place and I have to share a TV with my parents, like they don't want to listen to Japanese like all the time. Like they want to follow, they want to do work in the background and then they want to listen to what's on the TV. It's like a background thing for them. And if it's just like unintelligible noise to them, they don't really allow me to watch it for too long. So like I need to have something that's in an English dub for them to at least like give me the TV to watch. So that's kind of a bummer, is because I get into a show and then I get to the end of the season and then the new season's not out yet because it's in Japan and they haven't dubbed it over in English yet. So then I kind of forget about it and then I go and I watch something else and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably go back and watch like where they're at with that now. Because, I'm so far behind. It's crazy. Like, where are you at right now? Like, what's in your wheelhouse right now that you're watching?
So right now, I was watching My Hero Academia. I think the season's pretty much over. Like, even if it's not over, I mean, to me, it's pretty much over because the big story arc fight thing that they were doing, like, ended, and it's pretty much just been kind of filler stuff since then. But I was watching that. I've been watching, like, Black Clover. I love Black Clover. That's been good. Oh yeah, I need to catch up on. I was watching Fruits Basket.
What?
Have you ever seen Fruits? Oh man, so it's like it's basically like a love triangle anime. But the whole premise, it's like an old manga, and like the art stuff, you look up the old art, like it was already an anime and they did it, whatever. But I don't think the manga was done when they were initially doing it, so like the anime ended differently or just kind of ended because they didn't have any more source material. But they are redoing the anime again, and they updated the art style so it looks nicer, and like instead of like having huge eyes and stuff, it's more normalized. Like they're still big eye, but like more normalized proportions, and it just looks like more pleasing to the eye and stuff like that. But the whole premise is basically this girl who like her family's died and stuff, and so she's just like living out in the woods, and there's this like other family and stuff, and she ends up living with them. But the whole premise is when they touch females, like they turn into animals. They're all animals. This entire family, like they look human, but then like each of them, like when she's like accidentally touched them, like the one turns into like a dog, the one turns into like this. So, and there's like 12 or like 14 of them in this family that all have this, like, I guess it's kind of like a curse thing or whatever, but it's like two of them are both in love with this girl and stuff, but like the one doesn't want to admit it and the one kind of does admit it, and it's this whole thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I just love the choices that they make, or like some of the like the weird nuances of the animes that you like find yourself getting stuck into.
Yeah, that's like in middle school I was really into this one called D and Angel. Okay, do you know of that one?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, where it's the Phantom Thief dude, the 13-year-old kid, and like when he thinks he's like loves the one sister, but like when he thinks about the other sister, he turns into the Phantom Thief and stuff. So it's like he's with the one sister, but he also likes the other sister and stuff.
Yeah, or like what was it, Ranma 1/2 or something like that, where like he's like a dude. So like he's a dude and he's training and he falls into this pool where this lady died and like her soul goes into him. So like when he comes, anytime he gets wet, he turns into a girl. And he's like this martial artist, so it's really funny. So he's like a black-haired dude during the day, or like when he's fighting, and then like somebody throws a bucket of water on him and he turns into this red-haired big boob chick. And then like he's still doing martial arts, but then like occasionally he'll realize that he's a girl and he'll stop and he'll like feel himself. And then, like it just leads into some like crazy ass like like situations, that was like off the wall. Like I remember that one was just like crazy. I was like, wow, okay, this is cool. Like I'll run with this for a minute. Like we'll see where this goes.
Dude, that's like, have you watched, it's on Netflix, Baki?
Mm-mm. I haven't seen that
Oh
yet.
man, dude, that shit is insane. It's like because it's bizarre. Like it's a fighting anime,
Uh-huh.
and it's about the first, well, because the first season it's like divided into two parts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this jacked like high school kid, and he wins this underground tournament to the death like tournament, and because of that, all these inmates from like serving death sentences across the world, like one's in Russia, one's in like Germany, they all escape prison and they all end up in Japan because they want to know defeat. So they like all
Okay.
want to fight like Baki because he like won this tournament. And so like Baki ends up creating like a team of like 7 or 8 people with him, and then there's like 7 or 8 of these like death row inmate people, and they all agree to like, all right, we're all gonna like fight each other, but it's just gonna be like if we just run into each other on the street, shit's gonna happen. So it's like everything will be normal, and then like they'll see each other on the street, and they'll just start beating the fucking shit out of each other, and it's like it is going like it's like dude like punches someone in the face and like 17 teeth fly out, and then like grabs his teeth like between his fingers and like brass knuckles just like beating the shit out of him, like that level of like
Holy
insanity.
crap.
Like the one dude like has like 2 like 50-pound weights and is just like fucking like smacking this dude in the face and like jaws like broken, like that level of like just insane. Like people are shooting each other with guns, and it's like there's no bullet holes. Like they're so ripped, like the bullets are just like breaking them. Like that level of like absurdity. Like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just like what the
Uh,
fuck is happening right now? It's
that's
so
another
good.
one I could never get into, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like I know a lot of people like have like a huge love and affinity for it. That type of anime. I just could never really get into it.
Same.
Like
Like I've tried a couple times to, like watch it. And I just like couldn't see like what all the hype for was about it.
yeah, it's just yeah, it's hard to follow. It seems like everything. I mean, I watched it for like a couple episodes, and I knew they were trying to build up to something, but it always just seemed like it was just like the hunt for like the best noodle dish or like something. I was just like, I can't. It's just too mundane for me to get into. Like, is there any other? Can you think of any other anime where like people are like, oh my god, you have to watch this, and then you watch it and you're like, I don't like this. Like this is dumb.
Trying to think of another one that like people were like hyped up over that I was just kind of like, eh. Um, I know. Oh, I mean, I have the one. So for me, that's probably One Piece.
Oh yeah.
People talk One Piece up so fucking much, and it's like I've watched it, and I mean I've given it like I probably when I gave it a shot, I got maybe like 20 or 30 episodes in
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and it wasn't bad. Like I mean I didn't think it was like terrible. Like my thing is like one, like the animation style and stuff, like I don't care for it, like how they look and stuff. And I know later like it's kind of they've changed that look like since the beginning to like kind of how they look like now and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just couldn't get into it, and then just the fact that like it's gotten milked out as far as it has, like the fact that it's still not over,
Mm-hmm.
and it came out like around the time of like Dragon Ball Z, around the time of all these like Bleach
Mm-hmm.
and other shit that's all long done, and this
Mm-hmm.
shit's still going. I'm like, nah. I'm not about watching 1,000 episodes of this anime that's like about this treasure that they've never found yet. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that shit ran its course a long time ago for me. I think I maybe watched like the first season, and then like I bounced pretty hard off of it. Like another one that I can't like get behind that everybody else likes is the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like that one, like I mean, granted, it seems like it's a little bit more like childish, but like yeah, that's definitely one that I'm been like, nah, dude, I'm not gonna mess with that show
dude,
at all.
that's funny because that's to say I haven't watched it either. Like, I've seen bits and pieces, of course, and like episodes like here and there, but like that and like Korra and stuff, I've never watched like
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end anything like that, just because it was the same thing with the animation. It's like there's like comic books too that do that, where like, oh dude, this comic book, like the story's insane, and I'll open it and see the art style and I'm like, nah. I'm like, I can't read it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have to enjoy the art style and the story, and it's like a whole thing, and if I don't like one of the aspects, I'm like, I can't sit through it, man.
Yeah, it's funny how much an art style will put you on or off to watching the rest of the series. I'm trying to think if there's one that's really like Attack on Titan was almost that for me. Like I think the what got me is the action picked up pretty fast in that one. Like they kind of threw you into the fray like really fast, which was cool. But yeah, like I wasn't in love with the art style right off the bat. Like something about it just kind of either felt like dark, or it was either too dark, or there was too much like shading, or it was a little
Yeah,
too like heavy.
it's
And I
because
was
it's
like,
like
okay.
realistic, but it's like kind of stylized realistic. Like they have the bigger features and stuff like that, and proportions are like a little weird and
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
stuff. But everything like looks real, but then the people kind of don't.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that's pretty much. Thank God they didn't do like the typical like Japanese intro where like you have like 4 or 5 episodes where you're like just getting fleshed out with like the characters and the world and like the backstory. Like they just went like straight into like people getting murdered, and I was like, okay, like I can get behind this. Like I kind of see where they're going, and I want to pursue this a little bit more.
Dude, yeah, you need to catch up because I think the next season is the final season,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's like here's season one,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would say like here's like season two, and then
Uh-huh.
like here's season three. Like season three was fucking like when season two came back, like after the like long break, I was like, yeah, I was kind of like falling off of it like a little bit because I was like, it's been so long. I was like, yeah, like stuff's happening and it's cool, but it's like, and then like the end of season two was like, and I'm like, okay, and then season three like starts and like every episode in season three was like. And I'm like, all right, you got like the animation was like gorgeous and it was fucking dope, and like they were just fighting titans like every episode and shit was going down. I was like, yes, yes, and like they're finally like, oh hey, let's finally go see what's in Aaron's fucking dad's basement. I'm like, yes, I'm like, fine, the answers I've been wanting finally happen in like season three. So I'm like, take me there. Like,
Yeah, because that dude, like, I mean, in season 2, he was kind of like so emo crazy. It kind of almost like pushed me off of watching it
yeah, it's
because he was,
annoying.
yeah, and I was just, it took me a minute like to get through that season just because every time he seemed like he was having some type of existential crisis, or like he was trying to like. He was upset about something, and like there nothing he could control. Like, or he was always trying to like just mash his hand, like to try to get himself to do something
Yeah.
he couldn't do. I was just like, dude, just chill out for a second. You're a little extra right now. Like, I need you to just take a break and let somebody else do some do some of the story work.
Well, that's like even in like, yeah, in season two, he's just a whiny bitch the entire time, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Well, I don't deserve to live," and blah blah blah. And in season three, he's still kind of like that, but he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm sad and I think I'm a piece of shit, but I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, there we go. I'm like, if you're gonna cry and whatever, at least go do it in a blaze of glory. Like,
Hmm. And then like with like Hunter x Hunter, like I really like the premise of that one. Like that, but I keep getting it confused. There's another one that's out there that I'm trying to remember. Like Hunter x Hunter, that's the one with Gon and the white haired dude, right? Like
yeah,
his
the
friend.
little assassin kid.
Yeah, like those two dudes, like that. I loved like the storyline, like the tournament fighting. I really liked like them living in that place while they were like kicking ass and taking names. And I always wanted to figure out what was going on with that clown like assassin dude who was like had
Yeah,
like who like
he's such a badass. I
I
fucking
know,
love him.
like I mean, like the sheer like amount of like self like harm he was willing to do to himself to like win certain battles or to prove a certain point. I was like, man, like this is a villain like I can get behind, like and at the time like he was the villain. I mean, I haven't I don't know how the story has progressed now because like Gon turns into like this huge like super like powerful dude who
Yeah, with his
like
hairs like up to
yeah, his
here.
hair is like straight up and like he just punches people's faces like until they're like mashed out the backs of their skull. Like I don't even know what's going on anymore. Like where his like chi progression is or like what he's like working on like right now. Like so I need to get back into that one like hard because like that one it seems like it took like a hard left turn from where
Yeah.
like these kids were like really cool and like playful and like they didn't really understand like the like they enjoyed fighting because it was fun, and now it seems like the series is like pivoted to like there's like a purpose for them fighting, or like Gon is gonna go like crazy here and like he's gonna become the villain, or like
His arm like gets punched off and he like grabs it, beats the shit out of someone with it, and then like reconnects it back to his body. Like
yeah, like it's just like I'm like, what did I miss? Like I need to go back and start investigating this one a little bit more. So yeah, I love anime. It's just that there's so much of it. It's like, how do you curate like what you want to watch?
um a lot of it's like I'll read premises of stuff, and then usually a lot of like anytime, because like there's certain periods of time, especially on Crunchyroll and stuff, where it's like the seasons of like all this shit end, and then it's like all the new anime starts. And usually when all the new anime starts, I'll start going through all the new stuff and like reading about it, and like I'll check out like any of the ones that sound like something I might be interested in. I'll check out, like, I'll usually just watch the first episode because it's like 20 minutes. And it's like, okay, if it doesn't grab me in that 20 minutes, then it's like, I'll drop it, whatever. If it's like something that I might be interested in, I'll check it out again next week and see if maybe like it's something I'll continue to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then my one friend, Matt, who watches anime too, sometimes he'll be like, oh, dude, he's like, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch this. And there was one which I felt so bad because for like months while it was like actually airing, and it was on my list to watch, and I just hadn't. And I didn't know what it was about, but I had heard it was good, so I was like, yeah, I'll watch it at some point. And he's like, you gotta watch Promise Neverland. You have to watch Promise Neverland. And I'm like, oh, he's like, you would love it. He's like, I know you would love it. And I'm like, I know, I need to watch it. And then after it was like finally over, I don't even remember where I was, like was on like plane ride or something, but I like downloaded all the episodes to my phone, and I was like, all right, I think I'll give this a shot and watch it. And after watching the first episode, I was so mad because I was like, why did I wait so fucking, like, it was amazing. It was one of the best new animes I had watched in a long time, and I was like, why did I wait so long to watch this?
That's good. I thought you were going to go the other way. I thought you were going to be like, oh my god, this show is horrible. Like, I can't believe I'm stuck on a plane ride and this is the only thing I have to watch.
Oh no, dude, it's fantastic. Like, so the whole premise of the show, because I knew nothing about the show. I knew it was about kids and that it was kind of sad or whatever, but I didn't know what it was about. And it's actually like a horror kind of anime, which is like one of my favorites to watch. I like a lot some of the scarier ones and stuff like that. But the whole premise is it's basically in the future, and there's like all these kids, and they're at this like orphanage thing, and they all have like little white little clothes and stuff, and they all have numbers like on the side of their neck and stuff. They're all numbered, and so they don't have names. And the they get adopted, some of them get adopted now again, where, well, this one girl in the first episode gets adopted, and she has this stuffed bear thing, and she like goes, and they have to like go out to this special area to be picked up and do whatever. Well, the one main chick was like, oh, she forgot her bear thing, and she goes with one of the other dudes. She's like, here, we need to go give this to her before she leaves because she's gonna want it. And they go to give it, and there's this like truck thing sitting there, and they're all like, well, where is she? And they open the back of the truck, and she's like butchered, dead, in the back of this truck, like the ring, like whatever, like all contorted, like shredded. And demons are driving the truck, and they find out that their orphanage is really, they're just like a food farm for demons. And
shit.
every couple months when someone gets adopted, it's not so much they get adopted, is it's a food delivery order that they like send the kids out to be eaten basically by demons.
Oh, dude, that's rough.
And yeah, so they realize that they're in a camp where they're eventually going to be fed, and like they get tested and stuff all the time, like quizzes and whatever. And it's like the smartest ones get kept until their like 12th birthday, and I guess that's like the peak of like your brain growing, whatever. And then they save them for like this demon king thing for him to eat, because then it's like the best, richest, rarest like brain. Like, so these three kids, they're like the oldest, and they're going to be turning 12 soon. So they're like, all right, we have 6 months to escape from here. How are we going to do it? And that's like the entire first season is them planning out. And like, and it's like the last 2 episodes is finally them like initiating the plan that they've been building up to all season for like how. But it's very much like Death Note in the
Mm-hmm.
sense where there's no filler, and it's like everything at the time when you're watching it, you don't really know what, like, why did they do that? Like, I don't understand. And then like in the end it all kind of clicks, and it's like it kind of reveals that all this was set up knowing that this is how this was going to play out, and they reacted by doing this by thinking like 4 steps ahead of what was going to happen before it actually happened. And it's
Oh,
so
that's
good.
legit. I like
Yeah,
that.
I
I
can't
like
wait.
when things come together like that.
Yeah, and I can't wait for season 2. Like season 2 is going to be lit.
But that's a good thing too, is like, I mean, if you wait that long to like kind of binge on everything, I mean, your curve for waiting for the next season, kind of is diminished because it's not as long, right? I mean, like you don't have to wait as long for the next season to come out.
Yeah, and that's like, have you ever watched Overlord?
That sounds really familiar.
Where
No.
it's like one of the like trapped in a video game type of animes,
Mm-hmm,
but the
mm-hmm.
dude's like the last of his guild, and he was in this like high prestigious like #1 guild in this game, and they were gonna shut the servers off, and when they did or whatever, he got stuck in the game, and his character avatar and all the changes he had made to like different player code and stuff like stayed in effect. So like this one chick's like in love with him because he said that she was in love with him and stuff, so it changed it. But as the seasons go, it's like he's losing more touch of like forgetting that like he was once human,
Mm-hmm.
and because he's like a skeleton sorcerer fucking thing, he's like falling more into that, so he's like losing human emotion. And so like in season 1, like she'd like flirt with him and like whatever, and he'd get all like embarrassed and like sexually like kind of flustered and stuff. But then by like season 3, he's like, yeah, I don't fucking care. He's like back like he's like, that means nothing to me. And then just like starts like fucking like killing people and shit. And he's just like, no, he's like, life means nothing like to me anymore. Like, I don't care.
I mean, I would I watched was it Sword Art Online, and that one was really good until maybe like 3/4 of the way through the first season, like, which really upset me because I was really digging where the story was going, and then it turned into like this romantic, like, let's take a break and let's live in this world forever, and like we don't need to go back to like the real world, like we could stay here, and I was just like, whoa, like it slowed everything down.
When it went from, oh man, I like this world, and then they're like, hey, here's another game, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like this one nearly as much as I like the first world they were in.
Yeah, I was just like, oh dude, like the premise went from being like a great show to being like a very disappointing failure to me. Like
So I was like, that's another one of those ones where I think that was like a jumping point for people too. Like Attack on Titan was, like Sword Art Online, I think was a good introduction point for some people, like into anime, where that was like their first anime or whatever that they watched and got into.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean but it didn't have the staying power. Like it was around for a little bit, but like it didn't hit like the tiers that like My Hero Academia is hitting, or like Attack on Titan is hitting, or Dragon Ball hit, or Yu-Gi-Oh. Like even Yu-Gi-Oh, like Yu-Gi-Oh, you saw like places and people knew Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Sword Art Online, I think, is still like a deep cut. It was like a really like niche market of people who got into anime, and I feel sorry for them because they like really bad anime. But
Well, it's like it's one of those ones where I feel like everybody. Sword Art's one of those ones where it's not as like popular as Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, any of those, but it's one of those ones where everybody's watched it at least once, and
Mhm.
everyone's like, "Yeah, it could have been better." But it's like, well, it's like everybody's seen it, but like nobody loves it. Like everybody's watched it though, but everyone's just like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I think it has to go on your resume somewhere. Like, it's like one of those things where, like, if you're in this niche, like you have to watch it just to say you watched it. But I think that's the only reason people do it nowadays. Is like it's not a good, like it's a good representation of how an anime can fall apart. Like, they lost their way. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Like, I mean, do you have any I'm trying to think, funny stories that revolve around anime? Like anything that like like my grandma walking in, like when the Chung-Li was showering. Like, do you have anything that's like sticks out in your mind that was like either embarrassing or just like crazy weird? I have like one more story that's crazy weird.
I'm trying to think, like, embarrassing why. Because I don't think, because like most of the time, like when I was younger, for like watching anime and stuff, most of the time, like when I'd be able to watch it was like when a lot of the like Adult Swim animes and stuff, like on Saturdays when they'd air them, like they would have like Yu Yu Hakusho and Inuyasha and Full Metal Alchemist and like Big O and Paranoia Agent, which is one of my favorites. And Scried and stuff, and it's like I mostly watched it, so I didn't have anyone like walking in on me, like, or because it was like 11 at night, and I was like in my own room. I mean, it's not technically anime, but it was funny because like when I in high school and stuff, like when I was sick and stuff, even though I had like a DVD player and like a TV or whatever in my room, I liked to just kind of like spread out on the couch in the living room, and I would bring my stack of Aqua Teen Hunger Force DVDs and C Lab 2021 and home movies and stuff. I had like a whole set, and I would just sit there and just binge Aqua Teen and C Lab and stuff in the living room. And my dad would come home in the afternoon, and he fucking hated Aqua Teen Hunger, like with a passion. Like he thought it was the stupidest fucking shit, and he'd be sitting there trying to read the paper, and I'm like sick, sitting there watching Aqua Teen, and he'd be sitting there and he'd like put the paper down on his lap, and he's like, why the fuck did I buy you a TV and DVD player if you're gonna sit out here and annoy me with this talking food shit? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't feel good. And he's like, I hate this so much. And I'm like, I love it.
That's crazy. That's hella funny. Did you speaking of like animes, like or like cartoons that are like more like adult friendly, like I think like the States, like, over in America, I think they're starting to understand that that's like a market that they're trying to like get into now. I think there was one, I forget what it was. It was on TBS. It was like a space opera. I forget what it was. Jesus Christ. It was like Final Space. That's what it was. Did you ever watch that? Dude, that's a good one. Like if you're looking for something that has more of like the American style, like cartoony, like not really like it's kind of like it's kind of got more like a Family Guy kind of vibe as far as like drawing is concerned. But like I thought it was gonna be like one of those cartoons that was just gonna be an episodic kind of lighthearted kind of thing. But it went deep. Like it goes from being like this lighthearted comedy thing to like having moments of comedy, but like shit gets like serious like pretty like close to the end of that first season, and I can't wait to see season 2. Like I don't know if season 2's come out yet or not, but like that's another one of those shows that just kind of fell off the wayside for me.
Yeah, no, I see it on Verve.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think I've seen clips of it before and stuff, because like the art style and like the pictures, like that kind of, when you're saying that though, it's funny because it makes me think of Bravest Warriors.
No, I haven't seen that one. What's that one? I gotta check that one out.
It's by the same guy who made Adventure Time.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it was a thing like while Adventure Time it used to be like just like little YouTube like small skits and stuff, and then it was like kind of episodic on YouTube, and then eventually like Verve or whatever picked it up and like gave them money and stuff and brought it to like Verve where they actually did seasons and stuff. But it's like the same art style as like Adventure Time and stuff, and it follows like a group of kids whose parents and stuff were like adventurer things, and it has like futuristic, and they like live in like a giant ship thing,
Mm-hmm.
and their parents were adventurers, but then like all got trapped in this like whatever dimension thing, and there's the door or whatever, but they can't unlock the door and they don't know how to open it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just then each episode's kind of like its own thing of them like doing whatever, and there's like, but there's like moments where it's like it's funny and stuff, and then there's parts that like happen where it's like, man, that's kind of fucked. Like, like there's one episode where they're like stuck in this paradox where they keep dying
Mm-hmm.
by doing this one mission, and they keep like they'll walk in, they like, see themselves dying, and they're like, oh, dude, like we die, and they're like, yeah, but it's not for another 5 minutes or whatever. And they're trying to figure out how to stop it, and then like after like the fifth time, they're like, nah, fuck this mission, and they're like, whatever, we're just gonna leave. Like, I don't care. And like the one dude becomes like a time wizard or whatever, where and it's like he like travels through time. It's like his older self comes into like like will come into like the present and stuff, and like tell him things that he's like not supposed to, that could like fuck up the like time continuum and stuff.
Shit. Oh my god, that's awesome. I gotta check that out. Is it on like Hulu, or do I have to go to Verb to get it?
It's on Verve because they bought. Same with Bee and Puppy Cat. Have you seen that?
Oh,
That's
on.
like that's
now
like
you're just making shit up.
no, dude, that one is amazing, and I need more of it. It's only 6 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's on Verve, and it's called Bee and Puppy Cat, and the whole premise is like it's this cat, this like little potato looking cat thing, but it's actually like a prince,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they go on like adventure. Him and the chick B go on adventures and stuff and do whatever, but it's like it has like a loose kind of story to it, and then it's like the story really happens in like the final episode, and you're like, and everything kind of like makes sense. And you're like, wait, what? And then it just like ends, and you're like, all right, like I really want another season because I want to see where the fuck that's gonna go. Like,
I hate when people do that, dude. It's when the season ends on a cliffhanger and then they don't come back for another season. You're just like, please, just come out with one episode that tells us what happened, please, just something. I hate not knowing. Oh man. Oh. Oh well. Anything else?
I was like anime wise, I was like trying to think because like a lot of my like, okay, what would you say is your top, like of all time, like top 3 favorite animes?
Well, let me see. I mean, that's a hard one because like I mean, right now, I would have to say like Dragon Ball Super like ended on a really high note. Like I really liked the way that ended. I liked My Hero Academia is like definitely one that like I will go to like over and over again. I got no problems with that. And then like probably like I don't know, like a good third one. I don't know, because like I haven't gone back to watch like the earlier anime, like Ranma One Half like was funny, but like I don't know if like it holds up well like by today's animation standards. So I would probably have to say like Attack on Titan would probably round out like my top 3 that I would watch like nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued to go back now that like, you know, I do have a Crunchyroll subscription to see like what animes they have that I can go back and kind of see if they hold up well. But yeah, those are my top 3. How about you?
For me, it's like Death Note was always a favorite of mine. Like I just like beginning to end, I thought it was such a good story. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was one of the, like, I mean, even the original Full Metal Alchemist I really liked, but like Brotherhood, I think like did more justice to, like, they really explored alchemy a lot further and stuff, and you know, Scar doesn't die in it like he does in the other one, so that made me happy. And like one of my third ones would probably be like Yu Yu Hakusho.
What?
You've never seen Yu Yu Hakusho?
Mm-mm.
With Yusuke Urameshi?
No.
Well, like, oh, dude, it used to be like that's one of the other like 90. That's like one of the like original like tournament fighters. Like he like dies and stuff, and then has like spirit powers and comes back and stuff, and they have to like enter like the tournament like the underworld tournament and stuff. And dude, that one is good. It's like 4 seasons. Like the
Mhm.
first 2 seasons are like great, and then season 3 is like okay, and then season 4 is kind of trash. But
Uh,
those first 2 seasons though are where it's at, because season 2, the entirety of season 2 is just one giant tournament, which is dope. And then yeah, season 1's like they do like the forest and stuff, and like
nice.
where the
And
trials in the forest. And
what was it called? Yu Yu
yeah,
Hakusho?
it's Yu Yu Hak. It's YUYUHAK. It's like Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay. I'll have to check. Oh, I've seen images of this before, but I've
Yeah,
never watched it. I'll have to give it a try.
yeah, dude. I was like one of the newer one, like for new, because all of that's like old shit. But like
Mm-hmm.
for like new, if I had to pick top 3 that's like new anime,
Mm-hmm.
I like newer. I would say I already talked about it, but Promise Neverland,
Mm-hmm.
super amazing, love it. Um, uh, I forget what it's called, Demon Slayer something or another.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one is in, like the animation in that is insane, and it's so good, and I'm so excited that like Demon Slayer Kimitsu no Yaba,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's called. Yes, dude, that shit is dope, and it's amazing, and the movie for it is coming out soon, and then the season 2 takes place after the movie. Like they're knocking out an entire story arc with this one movie, and then they're gonna go right into the next story arc with season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about like this dude whose entire family gets murdered by this demon, and his sister didn't die though, and instead she gets turned into a demon, but she won't eat people, so she actually has self-control, and like
Mm-hmm.
they've never seen that before. So he like carries her around in like a little wood box on his back and stuff, and he's trying to figure out how to like turn her back into like a human and stuff. And he like meets other people along the way, and like he enters the demon hunter corps,
Mm-hmm.
and like they have like some kind of like bleach style, like they have like captains basically of like each of like whatever thing is their specialty. Like one's poison, one's like fire, one's like something else,
Mm-hmm.
and that one's really dope.
Yeah,
And
I've seen a lot of that on like in my anime circles, but I've never really seen the name of it. Like I always just see like clips of it, so I'm like, oh yeah, that's super cool, and then I forget about it.
yeah, no, that one's really good. And then my third favorite, which I think came out was like the other year, it was Dr. Stone.
Doctor Stone.
Yeah, dude, that shit's dope too. It's also on Crunchyroll and stuff. The whole premise is like a giant this event happens on Earth, and nobody knows what caused it, but it caused everybody in the world to turn to stone.
Hmm.
And he eventually breaks like out of the stone,
Mm-hmm.
and basically is trying to restart humanity. And it's like so much time has passed since then that like the world's kind of like technology's all gone, basically. Like all the buildings have grown, it's all forest and jungle and shit again. And he's basically, but he's like a scientist, and so he eventually figures out the cure to unstoning people.
Mm-hmm.
And so he starts like unstone people, and of course unstones this dude who turns out to be bad. And then like he's basically like, now that he knows how to unstone, he's like creating an army, and then he's creating his own army of like science and shit. Where then this dude's army, he's like unstoning like MMA fighters and fucking shit and like whatever. So they like live in this like Flintstone style place wherever, where like he's over here creating electricity and like all sorts of shit. But it's cool because like it applies real scientific values and shit within the anime, and will teach you actual science in the anime with like, he's doing this because like phosphorus has this actual reaction, and sulfuric acid is used to create batteries like this. And it's like really cool. And it's like he's going to like, the whole next season is like the Stone Wars or whatever, where they're actually going to war with the two tribes and stuff. So it's gonna be dope.
Oh, that'll be hella cool. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I got to get on that.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that.
Nice. Well, I've drank 64 ounces of water, and I have to pee my brains out. So can we end the show, please? It's either that or you're gonna see me do it. I don't want to whip it out on our camera.
I mean,
we're friends and all, but like
nobody can see it. All right, before we end it, we're gonna do this real quick then, because since you didn't listen to my and Zach's podcast, I had 3 sticky notes, each with a question thing. Me and Zach answered one, so you get to pick another, and then on the next episode of That Pixel Life, which is gonna be coming up next, we're going to do the final one, whatever one doesn't get picked here.
You can do... I'll do the one on your right.
This one?
Yeah.
All right. So whatever that remaining one is going to be the one that's going to be on the next episode of Pixel Life. So the question is... All right. What is the stupidest thing you got caught doing as a kid?
Am I really going to say that on this podcast?
Are you?
No, I was hitting. Okay, so I'll give you this story. It's a rather long story, but I was on a baseball team. By my parents' house, there's a hill, and on the top of the hill, there's like some tennis courts. There's a path that goes below it. And me and some kids from my baseball team, we had our bats and we were hitting rocks with the baseball bats to see how far we could hit them. And not me, somebody else like hit one and it went like really high up, but it didn't go far. It basically just went like right over the cliff and down. Well, there was a lady that was underneath like us and she was walking and she got hit with a rock, like, and it like she started to like she got cut like pretty bad. So she came running up the hill and like of course like we're all like 12 at the time. So like we drop our bats and like we run like past the tennis courts and we jump into a bush and we hide. And like she comes up and she's like looking around and she can't find anybody. So she like walks down the hill and calls the cops. So like the way this park is set up, it's kind of like a U. So like, we come out and there's these 2 dudes in the tennis courts and they're like, just to let you know, she's calling the cops. So you might want to get out of here. And I'm like, and all of us are like, no, this is like the worst thing. So like, instead of like going to the front and just talking to the cops and getting like yelled at, we ran out the back of the park, like where it was gated off. Like we jumped the fence and ran out like to the other half of the neighborhood. So like now like the cops are in like a pursuit of us. So like we run through like everybody's backyards. We get to my parents' house. Like my parents' house has like a drop off behind it. So we jump out over the fence. We go down the drop off into like this ravine. That's like this huge like sprawling like reserve, right? And then like my other friends that were on the baseball team, like their house was on the other side of the ravine. So they're like, we can go up there. Little do we know, like while we're running down the ravine, my mom and like the cops are like watching us go down the hill. And my mom's like, yeah, they're probably going to that house, like on the other side of the ravine, because that's where like the other 2 kids live. So they're like, okay, we'll just head them off over there. So like all the cops go over there. Like I'm like, halfway through, I'm like, you know what? This is like BS. Like I'm just going to go back and get yelled at. Like it's easier. So like I go back to my parents' house. Like there's nobody there. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I walk out the front of the house, and I walk out just in time to see, like, my mom in the back of a police car getting driven around the corner. So I'm like, oh, no, they took my mom away. Like, what am I going to do? Like, my dad's going to be so pissed. So, like, I go back upstairs, and I get the binoculars out. Like, I'm looking through, like, my bedroom window, like, at the other house. And, like, there's, like, cops everywhere over there. And, like, the 4 other kids are, like, getting read the riot act. And I'm like, oh, crap, dude. Like, this is bad. So, like, I go out the front of my parents' house. I walk down the street, like over to the other side of the ravine where like all the activity is going. And like I walk up and I try to play it cool. I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And like all the cops turn around and like the kids turn around. They're like, that's the other kid. I'm like, fuck. So now like Dr. Cool is like gone. And like I turn into like this like bag of like snot and tears because I'm like, don't hurt me, don't arrest me, please. And the guy's like, oh, I'm not gonna do anything bad, like I'm just gonna put you in the police car and drive you down to the police station and process you and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad, I'm so sorry. And, like they get maybe like a block away and they're like, yeah, we're just like messing with you, like get out of the car, like don't ever do this again. Like we're taking your bats. Like we're doing this. Like it could be so much worse. And
they took your bats.
Yeah, they took my bat, and I was like, oh man. So like yeah. So then I came home and my mom was like super pissed off because she was like, the dinner got burnt because like you were out there like running around and the cops took me and I wasn't able to like focus on the roast and blah blah blah. So like yeah, that was like probably one of the dumbest things I ever got caught doing when I was a kid.
That's pretty funny. I like how you like walked through. I was like, dude, I just stayed at fucking home. Like I wouldn't have walked over there. Like nothing good was gonna come from going over there.
I know. Well, that's the thing is like I already knew I was gonna get in trouble. I just didn't know. Like I would have rather gotten in trouble by the cops than my parents because my parents probably would have grounded me for like ever.
And they snitched you. The kids snitched you out to the cops.
Know,
like a bunch of narcs.
That started a neighborhood rivalry that lasted. I kid you not, probably like 10 years.
Jesus, that was it.
Yeah, that was the defining moment.
God damn it. I was like, mine, like, when I say kid, like, the stupidest thing I can think of, because it was just so, like, it was so stupid in the sense that my mom couldn't wrap her head around it. And so, I was, I think, 16 at the time. And, so I was like, homecoming was coming up, and like I had gotten not like a suit, but like shirt and like new pants, like just like a little more dressed up shit, whatever that I was gonna wear, because it wasn't like, you know, like a suit and tie. Like, I mean, I guess you could wear a suit and tie, but I wasn't a suit and tie kind of person. But I got like a nice like button up and some new dress pants and like whatever to like wear to the homecoming dance. And my mom wanted me to try the clothes on. And I had been in my room, and she was like, "Oh, let's go in your room, and like I want to see what your stuff looks like on and stuff, make sure it all fits, and that you're gonna look good from it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll try it on later or whatever." And she's like, "Well, no, I want you to try it on like now." And she's like heading to my room, and I was trying to stop her, and I was like, "No, I really don't want to. Like, I'll just do it later." And she's like, "Why don't you want me to go in your room?" And I was like, "No reason." And she opens my bedroom door, and it's all smoky in there. And she's like sitting there, and she's like, "Were you smoking in your room?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Justin Ray," and she's like, "What? Why is there so like what were you doing in here?" And I was like sitting there. She's like, I'm like staring at the ground. And she's like, "What'd you do?" And I was like, I like looked at her, and I was like, I was melting plastic dinosaurs. And she's standing there looking at me, and she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Plastic dinosaurs." And I was like, "Yeah." And I pulled the box out from under my bed, and there was this little shoe box, and there was this yellow like stegosaurus that had half its body melted with the barbecue lighter. Like that. And I was like, I was melting plastic dinosaurs in my room. And then she's like looking at me like I'm like the dumbest fucking person she's ever met. And she's like, "Why?" And I was like, "I don't know." She was like, "Okay, well, don't do that and put on your glove." But she was so bad. Like, she seemed more disappointed that I wasn't smoking, that her 16-year-old son wasn't smoking in his room, and that I was instead melting plastic dinosaurs in my room.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, she was, like, baffled that that's what I was doing in my spare time in my room.
Yeah. I mean, she was like, I don't even know what I would do at that moment. Like, they would be like equal parts like relief and equal parts like what the fuck.
But, all right, though, that's gonna end the podcast, and Shannon's gotta drain the lizard before.
I gotta drain my Blue Eyes White Dragon so bad.
Oh yeah, he does. He's gonna play it in face up attack mode. So that's going to end the podcast this week. Thank you all for listening. I want to thank Shannon for, even though I know he's been busy, for coming on and doing the podcast. It was fun weebing out since I know Zach won't let us on that Pixel Life. He'll shut that shit down.
Dude, it was so much fun. Like, we got to do this again. Like, once I get caught up on everything, I got to be like, we got to do an update so we could be like, "Oh my god, this anime sucks," or "This is awesome."
I know. I need you to watch season 3 of Attack on Titan and come at me and be like, "Bro."
Yeah, dude, I gotta watch that shit so bad.